20.
Morning too.
Peter adjusted.
Take a moment to locate the exit nearest to you. Keep in mind that it may be located behind you. Your crew are happy to assist.
Okay, so the resumption of flights will mean everything to the tourism sector, actually mean everything to the economy. Because one of the things that will happen is with the resumption of flights, we can begin to have a business and a conversation. Currently, tourism is dead. Our partners in the hotel industry, in the hospitality industry, in restaurants, in travel, in tours, do not have any work they're doing. Remember, tourism employs 1.5 million people directly, almost 2 million people indirectly. There's forward and backward integration. There's people in the small and medium-sized industry. There's people in agriculture. There's people in construction. There's people in insurance. All of those industries will immediately begin to realize income just from the resumption of flights, because there's a tendency to think that the resumption of flights means international tourism. The resumption of flights means Kenyans can move from one place to another, and that's really what we're focusing on. Even if we have a resumption of flights and an opening up of cessation of movement from county to county, it will begin to open up our industry. So at the moment, that's the bare minimum that we'd be happy with. Unfortunately for us, it's a reset button completely. It's restarting the business that tourism was able to offer. Because the product of tourism is consumed by travelers, and travelers have got different personalities. So what's happened with COVID is we have appreciated that the traveler is not going to be the same traveler. So the way our industry looked at the travel economy and the people is they would say, okay, these are millennials, these are baby boomers, these are the greys, and these are the FITs, yeah? They're the free independent travelers, and they're usually the more free-spirited travelers. Unfortunately, that traveler has changed completely. They've changed on a number of fronts. They've changed on their expectation in terms of what they require the provider or the person fulfilling the experience for them to be ready for. So they expect those providers to be safe. They expect them to be accommodating of the areas and challenges that they may face. So that traveler, even if you look at the adventurous and the independent traveler, they want to be sure that the protocols around the health and safety are taken care of. Unfortunately, you can't advertise health and safety. The perception of your readiness needs to be apparent. So that's the first area that the tourism industry needs to grapple with. In that, what is my first impression of arriving at that facility or arriving at that experience? Do I get the sense that they're ready, they've taken the measures that will ensure that even as I experience this destination, I'm not going to have an additional problem when I leave? So that's a different traveler. The second aspect will be, whilst they are there, In the eventuality that something happens, they must have the sense that the experience owner is able to take care of an eventuality and is prepared and provides this information in advance. Then thirdly, once they've settled around those hygiene issues, then they can settle down to the experience. And during the experience, they want to continue to feel that level of confidence that that provider is taking care of the protocols that have been set by the endemic now. We stop calling it a pandemic because we're going to live with it. It's an endemic now. So destinations and providers must continue to be COVID ready for the immediate and long term. So first you show, and then you, from that showing, give the detail around the questions and the fears and the concerns they may have in terms of timing, in terms of how they as travelers need to be ready, in terms of how long it will take them to go through the airport, how long must they get to the airport, what are the checks that they will go through when they are at the airport, and when they arrive, what is the arrival protocol and the process around that. Do they go through port health? Do they get tested again? When they come out, are the people that are meeting them sensitive enough in terms of how they're going to ride? There's the conversation about how many of you can ride in a car. Something as simple as that. If you're not clear and upfront about it, then you can't be surprising your traveler. As you remember, when we banned plastic, the conversation goes through to the other side. So even as you're boarding the flight with plastic, the crew on the other side or your partners on the other side understand the measures that are in place in the destination that you're going to, and make you sensitive about it, so that you're not leaving home, arriving at a destination and then getting surprises.
You'll recall that it is us at KCA who suspended or gave restrictions to the airspace of Kenya. It was through a notice to airmen that I issued that stopped all airlines flying in and out of Kenya. We will oversight each particular agency to see that they're doing what they're supposed to do when our airspace reopens. Our role is to oversight that what they are doing is in agreement with the protocol that we developed.
There are several things that have changed. So you'll see when our passengers start flying with us, they will see that there's enhanced protection of our crew. So they will be downed with protection gear, gloves, masks, gowns, and shields, and so on. That is important. For short-haul flights, we have reduced the need for meals. And that's not because we don't want to give meals, but just because we want to reduce the contact between people. And of course, if you have a 1-hour flight, it's not necessary that you'll get meals. We will obviously be cognizant of the fact that when there are some health issues that require you to have regular meals at intervals, so we can talk about those exceptions. But generally speaking, we will not be having specific meals. And we will also change the way we serve our meals, as opposed to the way we served them before. We are reducing the way our utensils are presented. They will be boxed as opposed to before, when you'll have utensils. So all that to reduce the contact between people and to reduce the risk of contamination. The overarching principle with an aircraft is that the aircraft environment, the way the aircraft is designed in terms of the filtration system and the air circulation system is even better than in a hospital environment, because the way the air circulates, the way the manufacturers have it circulates from up going down and out through filters. So there is very little risk, and also the way the seating arrangements are, you almost have a shield between you and the people sitting in front of you. Now, indeed, there might be some sort of we call it risk between the people sitting next to each other. But remember, we are requiring people to wear face masks. And also what we are saying is that because people have gone through lots of checks within the airport and before they come to the airport, we have reduced the risk significantly. Okay? We are also going to be providing sanitation as well. There will be announcements at regular intervals all through the journey reminding our passengers on the measures they need to exercise in order to reduce the risk of contamination. The important thing is the overarching principle is to make sure that the travel experience is safe, a safe travel experience for our customers. So for us it's also important that right from when the traveler decides to travel, that they feel confident that they will be safe through the entire journey experience. So right from when they board their taxis, we're taking care of that from that end and making sure that that happens and then gets to the airport. We want to make sure that our partners at the airport are also playing their part to make it as safe as possible for the passenger. So in terms of making sure the hygiene conditions are good, the physical distancing is also observed, that there are enough watering points, that there are enough sanitization points, and then when it comes to us, also observe a similar protocol at a check-in. We are also encouraging that most of our passengers, as much as possible, they do online check-in. That will be helpful. And also we have, with the help of Kenya Airports Authority, we have self-help desks at various points at the airport. It will require that people come earlier, and that is why one of the reasons why we are suggesting to our passengers that you could do certain things earlier. For example, you might want to check in online earlier. That's going to make it much easier for you, because then it means that when you come to the airport and if you don't have luggage that you want to check in, you can walk right through the check-in, through the security gates, and if it's domestic, you can go straight to the boarding places, and in the case of international, you can go straight to immigration. So it's better that, and we are doing that. We're messaging to say, please, we have a very nice online check-in. Use that, because it will reduce your time at the airport, and also it's easier for you, also reduce your exposure, if any, to any risk. Now in the plane, we also have very strict protocol that will help to, again, make sure that the entire journey is safe. For example, things like making sure that we have people wear masks, make sure that our lavatories, our seats, the entire cabin is properly cleaned and fumigated frequently. Also, in terms of even the things that they use, the blankets and all the things that they use at the aircraft are also sanitized at a regular basis, and they're only used once. So those are the measures that we've taken. What we're trying to do is to make sure that the passengers have as little risk as possible in coming into contact with any contamination. And our staff is well trained. They have been doing lots of call them evacuation flights or repatriation flights. So we've been using those flights to make sure that any loose ends are tied. We've been also working very closely with our partners, the airport, customs, police, port health, and so on, to make sure that we're working seamlessly.